Hello, in this video, I'm going to explain the Bitcoin Cash metadata registry standard, so in short, BCMR, of how to add metadata to your cash tokens. So this standard was first announced on the Bitcoin Cash Research Forum in October of last year, and we have a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. It's published by Jason Dresner, and he writes, Bitcoin Cash metadata registries, BCMRs, share metadata between Bitcoin Cash wallets, allowing user-recognizable names, descriptions, icons, sticker symbols, etc. to be associated with on-chain artifacts like identities, tokens, and contract systems. So we will talk mainly about the token use case, so cash tokens, but note that this standard is more broad. It can also cover identities and contract systems. So to understand why we need user-recognizable names, descriptions, icons, etc., let's take a look at the Cashonize web wallet. This is connected to ChipNet. So if you press create tokens and select fungible tokens, you can, for example, put in a total amount of 1,000, press create tokens, and then under my tokens, you will see something like this. You'll see a generic automatically generated icon, which is based on this token ID, unique token ID, and then your amount of 1,000. So of course, this is missing a unique icon, a name, a symbol, maybe a description or a link to a website. So for a token project, of course, this is not human recognizable. Nobody will know what the 95 token is. So this is the use case, and this is why we need the BCMR standard. So here is a link to the full specification. We will only read small parts of it, but for a deep dive, I would suggest you take a look at this. And then there's also a live stream tech talk, which took place in November of last year. It's very long form, so I suggest you take a look after this introduction. And it's good if you have any questions remaining and want more information. So with that out of the way, let's gloss over the BCMR specification. So here it says version 2 in draft. You can navigate it by the table of contents, and we'll skip the deployment, motivation, and benefits right away. And we'll take a look at the technical specification. Here it says a Bitcoin Cash metadata registry, BCMR, is an authenticated JSON file containing metadata about tokens, individuals, and organizational identities, contract applications, and other on-chain artifacts. BCMRs conform to a metadata registry JSON schema, and they can be published and maintained by any individual entity or individual. So in short, what does this mean? A BCMR is nothing more than authenticated JSON file. So let's take a look at an example. I made a JSON file for my token Doge Cash. So this is a fun token I created on the CashTokens launch day. And here is the metadata file. So it's nothing more than a JSON file following a certain schema. You can put this in your code editor, and then the schema will be automatically checked. So it checks if the right keys and the right values are in the right, all files in the right structure. For example, that it includes a token ID here, and then a snapshot, and then information like a name, a description, a symbol, decimals, and then on the URIs and an icon. So this is the structure of the BCMR metadata file. The icon is linked with an URL, so this is the way the icon is linked to this JSON file. So let's take a look back at the specification. Here it says, client software, wallets, indexers, and other software that utilizes metadata can acquire and authenticate metadata registries using multiple strategies. Metadata validating clients are clients that fully support acquiring and authenticated chain-resolved registries. So this means Bitcoin Cash transaction chains. And DNS-only clients, so domain name system using domain names, are clients that only support DNS-resolved registries. So now we know there's two types of registries, chain-resolved and DNS-resolved. And here it gives some more types or some more information, but the most important section are the DNS-resolved registries, and then below the chain-resolved registries. So instead of reading all this, I want to explain it by just showing it. So let's take another look at the Cashonize web wallet. And let's take a look at my token. So this is another wallet containing more tokens. Here it is a token MicroFi and a token Doge Cash. Those are both unverified but do have metadata. For example, you press on info, you can see the number of decimals, a token description, etc. You can also see a symbol, a name, and an icon. So this is, of course, what we want, but why does it say unverified? This is because the metadata was self-published or self-certified, so it was only checked by the creator. And if you want to have verified metadata, like the Emerald DAO, which has a green check and has a verified label, you will need to be included on a trusted token list. So what does this mean? Currently, the only real token list that has been started is by Jason Dreisner, called the Open Token Registry. And this is a whole process for how to get your token data on this trusted registry. It's like it's a curated token list. And you can find this website on otr.cash. And the metadata of all the tokens is published under its well-known subdomain, so otr.cash.wellknown, and then /Bitcoin Cash metadata registry.json. So this is a larger file because it contains multiple tokens. Here it contains the OTR chipnet tokens and the token we just discussed, the Emerald DAO. So this is why the Emerald DAO has a verified label, because the metadata file is automatically fetched from otr.cash. So this is a DNS resolved registry, and this is imported. So because it includes information about the Emerald DAO and the token ID, this is automatically imported and then it is labeled as a verified token. So if you want to publish a metadata, this is how you get a verified label. And if you just want to self-publish your metadata to start, how you do it is you go to create tokens, and instead of just putting in 1000, you press on optionally link metadata to this token. Then you have two options, HTTPS and IPFS. So here it also links to the Doge Cash example. The HTTPS method is easier when you have already a GitHub account and know how to work with Git. So if you know how to add, commit, push, things like that, then you can easily do this method so it's more easier for developers. There's also a few steps. So if you are dedicated, you can always follow this, but it's not the easiest yet. There's also an option to use IPFS. And the IPFS method is slightly easier, but I would say it's easier, but it's not easy to update your metadata like it is with the HTTPS method. So we'll talk about that a bit more by taking a look at the BCMR specification. So we discussed DNS resolved registries with otr.cash and the well-known standard. So here it explains the well-known URIs. Then let's scroll past all these technical details and take a look at chain resolved registries. So this is exactly what you see here in the Cashonize wallet. This is all chain resolved registries. And if we skip the benefits and go straight to the bottom, here it says metadata registry publication outputs, which is what we want. They are of this structure: first an operator, then 4 letters signaling its Bitcoin Cash metadata registry output, then a hash of your file, so for example, a hash of this JSON text, and then including one or multiple URIs. So in the Cashonize web wallet, you have the option either for the HTTPS URI or for an IPFS URI. So the thing is, if you update your metadata file, the hash will not match the URI anymore. But this is like a worry for HTTPS. For IPFS, it's even a bigger worry, because if you change the IPFS contents, the URI needs to change. So how do you update this operator? Well, this is where transaction chains come in. I think I need to scroll up a bit. So this is the zero-descendant transaction chains, also known as auth chains. So here you can see auth chain resolution. And we will do a bit more reading. A zero-descendant transaction chain, also known as auth chain, is a chain of transactions where the output at index 0 for each transaction is spent by the following transaction. So here, if you take a look at the auth chain, it's labeled auth head and auth base. So auth base is the start, and then we take the identity output, so the output at index 0, the first output, and we follow where it is used as input, so it's used as input here. Then we follow again the first output, the identity output. This is spent, this is the no out head, then this identity output is spent again. So each of these spends can be a metadata update. So again, you can put a new op return output at one of the other output locations. So for example, at index 1, this as the second output, and then you can update your metadata. So this chain is how metadata is published on chain. Or this can also be a transfer. For example, if you hold the ability to update your metadata in one wallet, but you are migrating over to a different wallet, then you can make a transaction sending the alt chain, so the identity output, to another wallet, so to another Bitcoin Cash address, and then the ability to update your metadata of your token will be transferred to another wallet. So I hope this graphic makes it clear. That's why it was recently added to the specification. So because it has been quite confusing for people. So again, an alt chain is how you update metadata on chain because it follows this specification. It can include multiple PORIs, but this is not included in the Cashonize web wallet for now. So as you can see, it could include things like DNS, FTP, Git, Magnet, rsync, .onion addresses for Tor, SSH, etc. So all possible protocols. But currently, the standard is just HTTPS and IPFS. So these others one may be optionally supported by some clients, but are not default or standard. One last thing that is important is if you add an HTTPS output, you do not need to include the HTTPS // but for IPFS, you do need to include the protocol prefix. So here it also says IPFS // and then an IPFS location. If you don't know what this looks like, you can take a look at the example. This is an example for an NFT collection using the dweb.link gateway. So this is using HTTPS to access the IPFS file. So you can copy over this IPFS location, put it in here. Then of course you need the IPFS prefix, IPFS // So this is how you would add IPFS metadata to your fungible token. Of course, you need to make sure that your file actually includes the right token ID, because this is the token file for B81C, and our token ID would be 132C, so it is of course not matching, so wouldn't show up in any wallets. So this is a speedrun of everything related to BCMR, of how you can add metadata with Cashonize using either HTTPS or IPFS. Then if you create tokens, you will see under My Tokens the auth transfer. So this is how you can control your auth chain, like this, how you control the first output. And if you press on this, you can read this information and set the destination address to make an auth transfer and to keep your authentication or the authorization to update metadata of your token safe. So thanks for this speedrun information. I hope this was helpful, and see you in the next video. Bye.